Is Dirty Jobs Mike. I'm here with Triple Play Fantasy, ready to get you guys going with the DFS Chalk Talk. We are ready, man, to get you guys winning that money, and we're going to tell you how in 30 seconds. I think I say it every week, but it's worth saying every week. That never gets old. I love that drop every single time I hit it. It gets me all fired up. On my left, my man Joe. Joe, what's going on tonight? How we doing?
Yeah, we're changing it up this weekend. There's a couple. Usually, I'm on the bottom, so who says long-term relationships still can't get a little kinky? But I am doing well here. Week 13, so fantasy playoffs are approaching. Teams are going for the bye week this week, maybe, or going to just get into the playoffs. So it is as big as they come for fantasy weeks this week. So ready to rock and roll. We had a crazy game Thursday night where basically anything you'd want to see from a fantasy or betting perspective happened in the first half. Everybody went to sleep, I think, pretty easy Thursday night, no matter who you owned from that Cowboy Seattle game. So interested to see if it'll be one of those really high scoring weeks again.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. I slept like a baby when I had my Geno Smith, my DK Metcalf, and my Jake Ferguson rocking out there in one of my leagues, man. And this is a league that they play up really high. I think I'm starting the weekend off with 150 points or something like that, just with those three players. It was crazy. They went off, but neither here nor there. My man Jeff is out this evening. He's got some stuff going on. And nothing bad or anything like that. The guy just got to work, and he's going to be out tomorrow as well. So look for us to possibly have a special guest tomorrow. You might just have us two ugly mugs. So make sure you're still joining us in 12 hours for the Blitz tomorrow. Make sure you guys are getting on that Triple Play Fantasy and getting all your news and information right there, because we're going to be dropping stuff all season, all off season. We're here all the time, and like it's Triple Play for a reason. We got basketball, we got baseball on there too. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. What we're going to be doing here is talking about a little about DFS and the guys that we're going to be planning on playing this weekend and why we're playing them. We usually go with a little bit more of a different format, but here we're just going to kind of talk about the guys that we got going and kind of in the line of the position and why we're going in that position. So I'm going to go ahead and let you lead us off, Joe. What do we got for injuries rocking out there right now?
Yeah, so we're relatively healthy at quarterback. The only real news this week, I would say, is Dorian Thompson-Robinson is out for the Cleveland Browns, and I can't believe we're announcing this one, but JoeFlaco will be starting at LA against Aaron Donald in the Rams on Sunday. And what I want to know real quick is, who the hell did PJ Walker piss off? Did he have sex with Connor Bedard's mom? What the hell happened for PJ Walker to not be playing? Because on the field, he wasn't that bad. As an Amari Cooper owner, I actually wasn't minding the PJ Walker time and wasn't that upset when Watson went down again until I saw that it wasn't going to be Walker. Now they're saying JoeFlaco is better than PJ Walker at this point. How is that possible?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to think that JoeFlaco, coming 3 years removed off a football game, is going to go in there and be any better than a guy who understands that offense. He was with them all offseason. It's not like he was like a quick ad recently or anything like that. He's been developing with this program. So, wow, what a slap to the face that must be to have Flacco be wacko and come in and actually do things. I'm curious to see if he's able to even get the ball down the field. That's a reason, so we can go ahead and kick off with who we're going for and who we're why I'm playing the Rams defense. And that's because JoeFlaco is the quarterback for Cleveland.
There it is.
So,
we didn't plan that setup, but I gave you a juicy one there. Real quick though, Mikey, Jonathan Taylor's out tomorrow. I want to just make sure, because I don't know about you, but I will be talking about Zachary Moss today, and that is because Jonathan Taylor is out with a thumb injury for the next couple of weeks, and that is a new injury.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a big deal right there. It's sad to see that guy go down. But Zach Moss has been more than serviceable in these situations and these opportunities. So rock him out there. Yeah. With confidence too. Yeah. I know, he's definitely not in my daily lineup today, but, Zach Moss is definitely on a lot of my, on my fantasy lineups, and I'm pretty stoked about that. So.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and kick it off into okay, so we're just going to go ahead and start this off. So who are you starting at quarterback, Joe? What do you got? Quarterback and price, why?
Yeah, okay. I'm going, and bottom line is I'm going CJ Stroud when it's all said and done. One lineup to bet on. I'm going 8,000. I'm riding on FanDuel. He's 8,000. Hold on a second though. I should probably give my DraftKings. So I'm going CJ Stroud on FanDuel for 8,000. I'm riding the wave, but let me just stay consistent. On DraftKings, I'm actually going Sam Howell for 6,200. And, you can blame our good friend Jeffrey Mesha for that because he's been hammering Howell into my head for weeks and I haven't really bit yet. But the bottom line is the guy's 5 weeks in a row at 20 or plus on DraftKings. And that includes the Dallas, the Patriot, the Eagle, and the Giant defenses, which that's a pretty formidable group of defenses that he's done that against. They're home against Miami. I feel like this game's going to be a track meet from a scoring perspective, and I expect Miami to win, but I expect Howell to get his yardage. What do you think of Howell this week? How do you feel about that?
I actually don't mind that play a lot. Now that guy, we're talking about a guy who last week didn't even throw a touchdown, and he was able to get 17 points put up on. Now that's on normal format. So you're saying you got over 20 on DraftKings.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, and so like I said, man, I mean, that guy he's just getting it done, and he's figuring out different ways to get it done for you. I definitely don't mind that play a lot. The guy who I'm starting out there, a little bit cheaper, 7,800, is Brock Purdy. San Francisco at Philadelphia. I think this is going to be one of those high-scoring affairs here too as well. I don't think Philadelphia has much chance of slowing down Christian McCaffrey in that high-octane offense. I mean, they're 8-0, and you've got Deebo Samuel out there. And so I think that this is going to be no different. So I'm rocking Purdy. I think they give Philadelphia a good run for their money. I do think Philadelphia still wins that football game, but I think it's going to be by 3 to 4 points. I don't think it's going to be by any means anything close to a touchdown. With that, we're going to go ahead and shift to running backs. I'm going to be starting out with Jaylen Warren. I know he didn't give us what we wanted to last week, but at 6,500 and seeing what his ceiling is, I got to get him in there because I'm going to be paying up for some plays later. I think Jaylen Warren at home against Arizona is going to be a really big deal. I think that he's going to be able to run the ball a lot, be able to at least get, I think I'm going at least 15 points right here. And then Javonte Williams at Houston. That's another weak defense against the run. I think the Denver Broncos have looked a lot better over the past few weeks. I think that's going to be a great game between Denver and Houston. That's always been a pretty decent rivalry there. But at 6,600, again, man, I had to go cheap on my running backs this go. So that's why I went with that route right there. So we got 65 and 6,600 invested on the running back side of things. Who you got rocking out there on your running backs, Joe?
Yeah, I agree from the perspective that I felt like you could get real good running back value this week without having to spend 7, 8, 9 grand, regardless of FanDuel or DraftKings. And I'll start with, Rachaad White for Tampa Bay. I mean, they're home against Carolina, so it's as good as a matchup as you can come. And from a DraftKings perspective, 16, 17, 17, 27, 17, 15, his last 6 games that was. I don't see that changing against Carolina at all, so I really like Rachaad White this week. Happy to have him in a lot of my leagues. And then, I already mentioned him once, so I'm not going to stop now. I think I actually like Zach Moss with an injured Jonathan Taylor more than I like Jonathan Taylor with Zach Moss playing from a fantasy perspective. Moss was phenomenal as the starter. On DraftKings, he had weeks of 20, 25, 36, 17, and 14. The 14 was with Taylor playing already. They're at Tennessee. I think it's a great matchup, and he's only 4,600 on DraftKings. So I think that's a steal. And then real quick, seeing we're just doing it this way, the honorable mention I would say is, hard to resist Kyren. What's his first name? Is it Kyren? Kieran Williams
Yep.
for the Rams this week because of how phenomenal he was in his return last week. And then another guy real quick that I wanted to fit in and couldn't on DraftKings but did on FanDuel was Ramondre Stevenson, who has a lot of yardage for the Patriots the last few weeks and don't want to bet on their passing game, but home against the Chargers, I expect Stevenson to have another good week.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy to run against defense. They've been looking better over the past few weeks, but I definitely agree with that play. I like them both right there. Love the honorable mentions. As far as receivers go, Joe, who are you kicking out at receiver?
Yeah, so on DraftKings, because I'm not paying up for any major running back, and I haven't played him in a while just because of his price, I'm going Tyreek Hill for Miami at Washington. I mean, I don't need to give you the stats, but his last 2 weeks on DraftKings were 28 and 33. That was a 28 in New York against the Jets last week. I think there's just going to be a lot of points in that Miami-Washington game, so I expect a big week from Hill. If you told me you save $2,000 and you take Waddle instead, I could understand that too, but I do feel like Hill's you can depend on him consistency-wise a little more than Waddle. And then I am playing Deebo Samuel in my flex 6,200, another wide out. You already said it on the wise as far as San Francisco in that Philly game, another phenomenal matchup to look forward to this week. And then on the cheaper side, I'm sticking with that Miami-Washington game. Dotson for Washington. He's really been sneaky 4 weeks in a row on DraftKings in double digits. He's been better than McLaurin lately. Not to say he is overall, but I like Dotson for 4,600 again, home against Miami in what should be a high scoring game. And then I'm going to look to Pittsburgh. I'm going to ride this wave of a new coordinator, some new momentum. And, normally with Pittsburgh, if I'm going to take a wideout, I go Deontay Johnson, but I'm going to try George Pickens this week. I feel like he's ripe for a big play. The fact that he went 3 for 58 in the fact that that's an improvement is pretty sad, but he did go 3 for 58 last week against a tough Cincinnati defense. And this week he'll be home against Arizona.
Excellent. So yeah, I'm going to be rocking out Deebo Samuel at 7,300. He just keeps crushing it week after week, and they just don't seem to be keeping up with the price, although that is a little higher price than the rest of my guys. Curtis Samuel at home against Miami. I think I'm with you. I think that's going to be a shootout. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. And Curtis Samuel's been involved this whole entire season, so I don't see why we're not starting him at the price of 6,200. Another guy who's been killing it this year for me is Josh Downs from Indianapolis. I think at Tennessee, that's a weak defense right there, 6,100. This guy's been crushing it week in, week out. He's been a great accent to Michael Pittman Jr. for as far as it goes. And then for sure, in my flex, I cannot disagree with you anymore. I cannot wait to see this Miami-Washington game. Give me Tyreek Hill for 10,000, Alex, because I think Tyreek Hill is going to be busting it out. I think Tyreek Hill is going to be getting you probably 2 touchdowns, maybe 200 yards. I think he wants that 2,000, and I think that road to 2,000 really starts here because he's going to be able to grind that thing down. So give me that. So that gets us to the tight end position. I didn't really have a whole lot of money left, so we're looking at Pat Freiermuth for at home against Arizona. The Muth has been looking pretty good over the past couple of weeks. Now that he's been back and with that new offensive coordinator that's seeming to get more and more involved, more and more licks, 5,800, give it to me. I think he's probably going to at least get you 10 points. What do you say here, Joe? What do you got for your tight end?
Well, that's an understatement as far as what he did last week. He went 9 for 120 on 11 targets. So even if he does half of that, you're in good shape. So
absolutely. Like I said, he's been getting really involved. So I guess the week before that he was 1 for 1 and 7. So look out. But
no, I think they're going to ride this wave and some momentum, and they're going to open up that offense more, which is why I was willing to put George Pickens in this week, and normally I wouldn't. At tight end, I'm looking at again. It's funny because another thing that our buddy Jeff says is don't overreact over 1 week and just play a guy because he was good last week, or don't play a guy because he wasn't good last week. And it's easier said than done, but he's absolutely right. And I think it's most important in a league to not do that because that can really screw you early in the year if you mess that up. DFS, though, I feel like is a little different. And I feel like I am very trendy this week with guys who had big weeks last week, but I feel good about all of them. And Tyler Higbee is another one. First of all, he's only 3,700 on DraftKings. They're home against Cleveland. He went for 19.9 DraftKings points last week, 5 catches, 29 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's with Matt Stafford back. And I think that's the thing right there. With Stafford back, Higbee has a role in the offense. They look to him in the red zone at 3,700. We talk about it all the time at tight ends. If you get 10, it's a huge success at that price. So I'm going to ride the Higbee wave and say that he gets in the end zone at least one time this week.
I like it. And an honorable mention out there to David Njoku. I think he's been seeing pretty good matchup. Flacco likes his tight ends. And another one that I was liking, I just kind of drew a blank on his name right there or his matchup. So we'll just have to revisit that because I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Oh, Taysom Hill. Sorry, Taysom Hill. I think that this is going to be a pretty big Taysom Hill week with the way that offense is shaping up right now. I don't know why I blanked on it. It's because I was looking at Tyreek Hill and knew that wasn't right.
Well, what do you think? Let me tell you, I stared at Taysom Hill on both sites, making both of my lineups for a while, and I didn't play him on either one, only because it can just get so frustrating. But he's lined up to have a big week this week because they have no Michael Thomas. It feels like Olave is going to play, but it's not for sure. Shashid's out. They're banged up big time. So Hill is going to definitely have a pretty large role. But overall, I feel like even though both of those defenses are kind of ranked on the higher side, I feel like that could be a track meet scoring wise tomorrow too. What do you think of that game real quick?
Yeah, no, like I said, that's why I threw him out there just because I really like that matchup. I like who he's got going on right there. And that's like I said, like you said, I mean, with Shaheed out, with Olave possibly questionable, I mean, that leaves me with Kamara and Taysom Hill, unfortunately. So that's why I kind of liked what I was seeing out of that guy, but I just can't go that direction. He lets me down too often. Yeah. Because god dang, when he scores, he's great, but then the other 14 weeks, he's terrible to own. So
he's one of those guys.
Yep, yes, sir. Who do you got rocking out there on the defensive side of things there, Joe?
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to kind of make up for my wrong. I put a little too much stock into this team last week, so I am going to humbly take it out this week. I'm gonna take the Steeler defense at 3,800 on DraftKings, home against Arizona. I am not a Kyler Murray fan. However, I thought for his first week back, he looked pretty good a couple weeks ago. They had that matchup against the Rams last week, which has not been a very good team in general. A lot of injuries, I understand. So I expected more out of it than what we saw out of Arizona last week. Now then they got to take the old cold weather East Coast trip to a Steeler team that, is 7-4 somehow. And I'm going to bank on that Steeler D at home having a nice little Sunday afternoon.
Excellent. Yeah, nice pick right there. And like I said, I got the Rams. The Rams at home against Cleveland. Again, JoeFlaco, Aaron Donald, I think has zero difficulty chasing down even the most elite quarterbacks. I have a feeling with JoeFlaco and his little walker out there, he's going to get feasted on by Aaron Donald and the rest of that defense. So I've got them at 3,700. It was basically also all the money I had left. If I'm being 100%, that was more.
Yeah, but that's a great play. I mean, I have them on FanDuel too. That's a great play. You would think. I mean, what's Flacco going to really? I mean, in Flacco's prime, he was not a good fantasy quarterback. In his prime,
he was a Super Bowl quarterback one season, right? And like we'll give him props for that, but he just never really stayed as a guy that you thought was going to be a good quarterback. And again, I mean, like yes, he got lucky once, but that was more of a Ray Lewis led defense, I think, than a Flacco.
Do you stay away from? I mean, I still like the Cleveland running game forward anyways, but do you stay away from Amari Cooper with Flacco going, or would you float Cooper out there the way you normally would? What do you do with him?
I think I still start Amari Cooper if he's out there. I think he's questionable. I'm not sure if he's playing or not, but if he does roll out there, just because he's a guy that gets a lot of targets and he's a guy that can do a lot with targets. He's got I think it's about a 12.5-foot span. So Joe Flacco's just kind of got to get it close to somebody of his talent and be able to turn it into catches and receptions. So I feel like that's a good safety valve for a quarterback that's missing some experience there. So I'm going for it right there. I think Amari Cooper's a go.
Cool.
For sure. Well, guys, on that note, we're going to go ahead and close this thing out. Joe, do you have anything else to add this evening?
No, man, I like our lineups this week. I don't know if that means an F or not when it's all said and done, but I think we're riding some hot waves and you're at the point in the season where you can start to feel pretty good about certain guys, certain plays, what certain teams are. And yeah, man, I think we're going to crush it this week. Let's do it.
Yep, I think so too. And yeah, I think that's usually a bad thing. Usually, if you look at our track record,
Yeah.
usually I'm a little bit more cautious about my lineup. But gosh darn, I'm feeling good about this one. So we'll hopefully both be hitting. Hopefully both be making you some money. And if you guys are still having some start sit questions, just make sure you're joining us first thing tomorrow morning. Not really first thing, but 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Central. I'm going to start saying 10 Central in there for my people down here in the Central time zone. And that way we can get your start sit questions answered for the day. You know, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. The playoffs are just right around the corner. If you got any questions, make sure you're asking them in the stream, and we will get right to them. Like I said, hopefully with a special guest tomorrow. Hopefully we've got somebody else on there with us. But if not, me and Joe can definitely crack it out for you and at least give you the best analysis we can if we disagree. So good luck, you guys, and we will see you in the morning.